The wave of nostalgia for all things 1950s usually focuses on the more memorable elements of that decade, the music, the cars and the clothes. There is, of course, a darker side to that era, which we would much rather forget.
You know you're not supposed to go in there!
Far From Heaven is a drama set in the 1950s. At first it seems that Frank, Dennis Quaid, and Kathy, Julianne Moore, make the perfect family. They live in the perfect home with their two perfect kids. At least, that's what it looks like to the neighbours. Frank struggles under the weight of his repressed sexuality. Given that it took until 1990 for the World Health Organization to officially declare homosexuality is not a mental illness, the options for men who slept with men in the 1950s were dire.
Identification, please.
Kathy is dealing with her own repressed feelings. Having struck up a friendship with her gardener, she feels the full brunt of hatred for interracial relationships, despite the fact that they haven't even made the slightest of physical contact. Todd Haynes wrote and directed Far From Heaven, specifically writing Kathy's role with Julianne Moore in mind.
My life is like any other wife or mother's.
Executive producer George Clooney claimed it took a change of incidental music to get the film past its test audience. Far From Heaven is an homage to the 1950s film director Douglas Sirk, who helmed movies such as All That Heaven Allows and Imitation of Life. His melodramatic films were commercial hits, but critical misses. There is a ridiculously flawless attention to detail in Far From Heaven that puts madmen to shame. The cinematography is so rich and vibrant that you could almost be excused for thinking Far From Heaven was shot in Technicolor. Far From Heaven is anything but a nostalgic look at the 1950s. It shows that the culture of worrying what the neighbours think is still well and alive today. In an indirect way, though, Far From Heaven shows the importance of being true to yourself rather than being false for the sake of others.